So editing with the Apple iPhone through iMovie is pretty simple. Here are some tips on what you can do while you're out in the field for quick editing. So what we'll use today is Apple iMovie. And the first thing you'll do is start a new project. All of the clips that I've gone out into the field and shot are here. I have my talking head interview and then various clips of B-roll here. So the first thing I'm going to do is add my talking head interview to my timeline. So what I'm going to do first is find the first soundbite that I like to use and actually split it from the rest of the clip for easier editing. I'm going to play this.
I'm Kaylee Pemberton. I'm the education reporter at the Kokomo Tribune.
So that was somewhat of a natural pause right there. So you see where my cursor is. I'm going to highlight the clip, and split option will separate the clip at that break. So at this point, there are a few different ways that you can actually add B-roll on top of your talking head clip. The first way is probably the most easiest way. So you'll highlight the clip and then you'll click the plus option. You can either go to Moment, Videos, and this takes you to your camera roll. Here is the other B-roll options. I want to choose the first B-roll option that I'd like to lay down. And when you see this double square, where it's darker at the top and faded or dotted behind that, that represents an overlay. So you'll choose that to actually overlay that B-roll on top of the audio clip. Let's see how that goes.
I'm Kaylee Pemberton. I'm the education reporter at the Kokomo Tribune. I cover 9 school districts and a couple of colleges.
So you see here that within that first clip, I want it to cover that completely with B-roll. To actually shorten this B-roll, you'll highlight it. And scrub it until it reaches the length that you're satisfied with. So at this point, I'm going to do the same thing. I'll find a natural break in her interview and actually split that clip.
I cover 9 school districts and a couple of colleges, including Ivy Tech and Indiana University, Kokomo.
So with that breath, I'm actually going to split between that clip. And this B-roll will stop and then her talking head will show. And that'll be good for later when I add in her lower third. So that means that the remainder of the clip I would like to cover with the additional B-roll that I've shot. In order to do that, you can do it the way that I just suggested, where you click the plus symbol and you add the overlay. Or another option would be to actually detach the audio. In order to do that, what you're going to do is add, and then you'll find the B-roll that you like to add, and you'll just the plus symbol, and you see it all drops to the end of that timeline. I'm going to add all of my remainder B-roll. So now that I have my B-roll clips, they're a lot longer combined. Each of these clips are almost about 30 seconds a piece. This clip by itself that I'm looking to cover up is about 30 seconds also. So I won't need all of this B-roll. So I'll actually have to shorten this. Probably do about 9 or 10 seconds a piece, so it can evenly be distributed over that soundbite. So at this point, to separate the audio of the interview audio, what you're going to do is choose that clip, and then you'll go to detach and choose that. So now you'll see that the audio is separate from the actual picture video. This allows you to actually drag it to another area on your timeline. Alright, so after you've moved that, you'll want to delete this clip. And now we can see how this comes together.
I'm Kaylee Pemberton. I'm the education reporter at the Kokomo Tribune. I cover 9 school districts and a couple of colleges, including Ivy Tech and Indiana University, Kokomo. A lot of my job is finding out what the schools have going on, if they've got any upcoming projects, new classes that they're adding, things that they, like cool projects they're having the students work on, things like that. And then keeping an eye on state level legislation, things from the IDOE or the Commission for Higher Education, changes that they're making on that level.
I want to show one other way that you can actually add audio underneath a B-roll shot. And that would be with your own voiceover. So what you do first is add the B-roll to your timeline. I'll actually zoom in just a little bit more. You want to make sure that the cursor is at the beginning of that clip. From there, you're going to add. You'll have to go back because it'll take you automatically to your camera roll. And then you'll scroll down. You'll see audio. So if you had something pre-recorded, you can choose that from audio. Or you can actually do an original voiceover right here on the track. So when you choose that, it gives an option for ready to record. Education reporter Kaylee Pemberton covers 3 counties for the Kokomo Tribune: Howard, Tipton, and Miami counties. And you can play back the voiceover that you just did by hitting review. Education reporter Kaylee Pemberton covers 3 counties for the Kokomo Tribune: Howard, Tipton, and Miami counties. And then from there you can decide whether or not you're going to accept it, retake it, or cancel it. Some other editing options for iMovie would be audio. So in a lot of these clips you can hear a lot of background noise that's happening in the newsroom.
New classes that they're adding, things that they, like cool projects they're having the students work on, things like that. And then keeping an eye on state level legislation, things from the IDOE.
You can hear the typing, you can hear some reporters talking, and depending on how loud the noise is in the background, you may want to adjust that. In order to do that, you'll select the clip, and over here on the lower left-hand side, you'll see that it gives an option for audio. So with this, you can turn down the audio or turn it completely off. And then it'll show you on your timeline where it has the cross out of the audio symbol. I actually like to keep the background noise, which is the natural sound in the background, under my clips, but turned down so that it's not too distracting. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in and turn down all of the natural sound so that it's still there, but doesn't take away from her soundbite. And also, you'll see, or you've noticed, between the clips of B-roll, there are some transitions. With that, you click on the transition in the center and it brings up an option for several different types of transitions. You have an option for none, a themed transition, dissolve, slide, wipe, and fade. And it also gives you an option for how long you like that transition to be, right here. As far as doing news stories, it's good to keep the transition simple if you need to use one. So dissolve is perfect. It's a perfect simple transition to use. If you have a wide variety of shots between wide, medium, and close-up shots, it may not be necessary to use the dissolve. I don't often use the dissolve, so I'm going to take those off. I'm also going to add in a fade in and a fade out at the beginning and the end of this video. To do that, what you're going to do is click on this wheel, and you have the options for fade in from black and fade out to black. So you choose both of these options, hit done. So now you can see at the corner, it notes that there's a fade out and a fade in on this video. And lastly, you want to add any additional titles or lower thirds to your video so that you can identify the subject that you're interviewing. To do that, what you'll do is highlight the talking head, and then in the lower left corner, you'll choose the T, which is for text. And then you can see there are a lot of different options for text. You have standard, prism, gravity, all of these. And if it is in the center of the page, there is an option for you to choose lower. So that will actually put it in the lower corner instead of in the center of the page. So now that you have your lower third here, what you're going to do is add your text. So now you have your text slide there. Let's see the finished.
I'm Kaylee Pemberton. I'm the education reporter at the Kokomo Tribune. I cover 9 school districts and a couple of colleges, including Ivy Tech and Indiana University, Kokomo. A lot of my job is finding out what the schools have going on, if they've got any upcoming projects, new classes that they're adding, things that they, like cool projects they're having the students work on, things like that. And then keeping an eye on state level legislation, things from the IDOE or the Commission for Higher Education, changes that they're making on that level.
So from here, you can export by hitting done. And this is the share option. And then you're going to export it. You can export it or save the movie. If you have Fill 59, you'll just go ahead and save the video. And always export in HD. Alright, and after it was exported to your library like so, you have about a 42-second clip that you can upload through Fill 59 that can be added into your story.